We started Peak Capital in December, I think, 2006. So let's see, that would be 17 years ago. And we started Peak Ventures in 2011 or 12, so 5 or 6 years later. And it was very simple, actually. I remember the conversation. We had a round conference table at our office in Provo, and I remember Jeff, Jamie, and I going like, it's working now. Like there's a little bit of cash flow. Like we can pay ourselves a little bit, and there's some excess, some extra. What should we do with it? When I said, I know exactly what we should do, guys. There is an oversupply of good entrepreneurs and an undersupply of good capital in the market. Let's start investing in startups. That's kind of some of my background. I did tech before. Jeff Danley had a experience in venture capital on the East Coast in private equity. And so we started making investments. We looked at Scan, Kirk Wiemet, and Garrett G. We should have invested in that, but that was one of the first deals we looked at a lot. They ended up selling to Snapchat a couple of years later. Yep. But anyways, one of the first deals we did was Owlet. They ended up going public via a SPAC a year or two ago. We were the first investors in Owlet. MX, we were one of the first investors in MX. Anyways, so we started doing one-off deals. And the way it became a fund really was we had real estate investors, LPs, that had heard through the grapevine about the venture deals we were doing and said, guys, like, let's do venture. We want to invest in venture. And we were like, whoa, this is kind of a side thing for us. You know, real estate is certainly our focus. But we made the tough decision. I can't remember, but it took 6 to 12 months for Jeff, Jamie, and I to decide, let's launch a fund. Let's do this for quote unquote real. And Jeff Burningham, you're the right guy to do this. Like, Jeff, you know, we don't have to have you anymore on the real estate side. We've raised money. We're performing well. Jeff Danley and Jamie Dunn can hold down the real estate. Jeff, you go run the venture fund. And, you know, obviously there was crossover. We'd have leadership meetings for both and we would all contribute to both. But primarily, I went out and raised a venture fund. And, you know, it was the first institutional venture fund in Utah County. Proud of that. Proud that we've, you know, been the first investor in almost every company going up I-15 from Weave to Podium to Divvy to MX to Owlet to TaxBit to keep going, you know, whatever. And that's created tens of thousands of jobs, high-paying jobs here in Utah and on the Silicon Slopes.